Hey friends, welcome back to Acre Homestead. We are going to have a fun, busy day in the kitchen today. Life around here is getting pretty crazy and I need some convenience foods in my freezer and refrigerator. So what we're going to be doing today is we are going to be making breakfast freezer meals. The first thing I'm doing here is I'm prepping some bacon to cook in the freezer just so it's easier. We're going to be making 2 Amish casseroles. This is my mom's recipe and it's delicious, and I find the easiest way to cook the bacon for it is in the oven. And then we are going to be making some English muffins, some egg McMuffins. We're going to be making waffles for the freezer, breakfast burritos, and I think that's all, but it's going to be a lot. Because life is getting crazy right now, I need some convenience foods in the freezer and refrigerator that we can either take for breakfast or lunch, or I could make breakfast for dinner. Because normally on the weekends, on Sunday, I make some sort of breakfast casserole, whether it's baked oatmeal or a quiche or something, and that's what we eat for breakfast for the week. But I can't rely that I'm going to have time to do that all throughout the spring and summer. So I thought what I'd do today, since I have time right now, let's just take a few hours and get some convenience foods in the freezer. I'm going to get the oven preheating to 400 degrees, and I'm going to put this bacon in a cold oven. And we'll have that cook for about 20 to 30 minutes. If you want to see one little thing that's happening in here is over the weekend we ripped out all the carpet and prepped this area for new flooring. I've got my entire living room and my dining room. So this is just an example of a couple of the big things that are happening coming up here on the homestead. So I thought that let's just have some convenience foods in our freezer to make our life a little bit easier, whether we do breakfast for breakfast or breakfast for dinner. Since our bacon is in the oven, let's prep some onions. We need onions for the breakfast casserole and for the breakfast burritos. So I'm going to go ahead and chop 4 onions up for both those things. 1 onion for each of the breakfast casseroles because we're going to do 2 of the Amish casseroles. These are by far the strongest onions I have cut in a long time. They're making me cry. What are your favorite things to prep for breakfast? I always try to have something in the refrigerator, especially for Josh. Since I work from home now, it's not as big of a deal for me to be able to whip something up for breakfast, but he goes to work every day. And so if I have something that's packaged up for him, then or ready to go, like a breakfast burrito, then I know he's going to be fueled for the day. And this morning, I did not have time this weekend because we were ripping up all that carpet. And so he did not have a breakfast, and he just doesn't eat then. So one of the breakfasts that we're going to be making, I don't know which one, we're going to end up going ahead and cooking it all the way through, and I'm going to put it in the refrigerator so that he can have breakfast for the rest of the week, and so can I. Today is Monday, by the way. Or no, today's Tuesday. Yesterday was the holiday, so happy Memorial Day to everybody. I hope you all had a safe and wonderful Memorial Day. What I probably should have done to be a little bit more efficient would be to get the sausage cooking on the stove and then doing this, but that's okay. This is what we're doing today, so we'll just enjoy the time together in the kitchen. In our cast iron, I'm going to get 2 pounds of breakfast sausage cooking for the breakfast burritos. I already have the stove on. After the sausage cooks for a bit, we'll add about half of our onions into this. I just changed my mind, chef's choice, so that's something I can do. I was going to make the breakfast casserole with bacon, but you can make this Amish casserole with bacon or with sausage, and I already had 3 pounds of this breakfast sausage thawed. So what I'm going to do in this pot, I'm going to cook all the breakfast sausage for the breakfast burritos, and I'm going to use this for the casserole as well. The reason I decided to do this is because then I can put the onions in here and the peppers, and then I can just divide half of it for the breakfast casserole and half of it for the breakfast burritos, and then I can just cook everything in one pot. Instead of having to cook the onions separate with the bacon for the breakfast casserole, this is just going to be a lot easier. Don't worry though, we're still going to use the bacon, but we'll use the bacon for the breakfast sandwiches instead. So I am going to crack a dozen eggs into here, and this is going to be for the breakfast burritos. Splash of milk. So in here I have some melted butter and I have my pan preheated. So we're gonna get our scrambled eggs in here. I don't like to salt my eggs. For some reason, I do not like salty eggs, even if there's only a little bit of salt in them. But if you like to salt your eggs, I would have salted my eggs when I scrambled them up. But I think there'll be enough seasonings on the onions, the peppers, the sausage, and everything in the breakfast burrito that it doesn't need more salt. I'm not opposed to salt. You guys have been here for any length of time. I do cook with salt, but for some reason, I do not like salt in my eggs. All right, I'm gonna let those just sit there and cook away. And then we need to get a bunch of cheese shredded. That got crazy there for a second. I got about 4 phone calls that I had to manage. And so in that time, we did not get the cheese shredded, but the bacon is done. So that's looking beautiful. I'm gonna get this on a plate with a paper towel. Our eggs are almost done. I wanted to cook these on really low and slow so that they'd be really nice and fluffy. I think I'm gonna go ahead and turn the stove off actually. And I'm gonna let the residual heat kind of cook those all the way through. They're technically cooked, but we don't like them soggy, but they will cook when we reheat our breakfast burritos. And our breakfast sausage is almost done. It's getting some nice color on it. I want it to get a little bit more color, and then we're gonna call this good. I took the pan that we just cooked our bacon on, and I removed most of the fat, but some of that bacon grease I went ahead and left on there. And we're just gonna toss these frozen potatoes in that. I'm gonna stick this back in the oven, and that bacon grease is gonna give it a little bit of flavor, and that way I'm using that as the fat to toast these instead of putting like olive oil or butter or something on them. These are just some organic frozen hash browns that I got from Azure. So these are gonna now go back in that 400-degree oven and toast up. And we'll cook these for probably 15 or 20 minutes, and those will be for the breakfast burritos. I'm gonna take some of our sausage, and I'm gonna start putting all this stuff for the breakfast burritos right in this bowl, and we'll just mix it all up in this bowl. And we're gonna reserve some of this sausage for the breakfast casserole. I was gonna cook the onions and peppers in here with everything, but I don't think I'm gonna get all of that to fit. So we'll just remove the sausage and then cook the onions and peppers in this pan. We have some frozen peppers from last year we're gonna put in here. I love using preserved food from the garden from the previous year because it's already chopped, it's already ready. All you have to do is take it out of the freezer and put it in the pot. So we're gonna cook this. I am gonna season this with some garlic salt. That'll help draw out that moisture in the onions. It'll help it cook a little bit faster and add some flavor. I have my food processor out, and we're gonna shred the cheese in the food processor for both the breakfast casserole and the breakfast burritos. Now the recipe for the breakfast casserole calls for Swiss cheese. I don't have Swiss cheese, I only have cheddar cheese right now. And so that's what we're gonna use. But if you have Swiss cheese, I would highly recommend making the breakfast casserole with Swiss cheese because it is so good. I don't buy pre-shredded cheese, and so I'm gonna shred extra of this because I always buy it in these big 5-pound blocks from Azure because I can get organic cheese for a really good price. I can link that down in the description box. But I'm gonna shred enough for today's projects, and then I'll shred enough for dinners and different things that we might use during the week so that I don't have to get my food processor out again to shred cheese. So in here we have our sausage for our breakfast casserole. We're gonna go ahead and get the rest of the ingredients in here while we wait for those onions and peppers to cook. So we have 2 cartons, because we're doubling this recipe, of cottage cheese, 4 cups of cheddar cheese, bags of these potatoes in here and 12 eggs. So quite a few ingredients. And then the last thing is the onions and peppers. So this is a really, really easy breakfast casserole to put together. It's really, really good with bacon too. You can use bacon or sausage. And like I said, if you have Swiss cheese, it's so good with Swiss cheese in it. This recipe is very flexible too. You could put broccoli in it, you could put tomatoes in it, you could put whatever kind of fresh veggies are coming in from the garden. I've put zucchini in this many, many times, and you can just adapt it to whatever your family likes. The last thing I'm going to add is some garlic salt. Then we're going to mix this together. I almost forgot black pepper. That is definitely a must. Our peppers and onions are done, so we're going to add some of these to our casserole. I'm getting a pepper and onion facial. Okay, mix that in, and this casserole, all we have to do is put it in a container, and we've got this done. How easy was that? Super delicious, super easy. You can also use shredded potatoes in this if you want to as well. That's usually what I have, but this is the type that I had on hand today, the cubed potatoes, so that's what I use. But you can use shredded or cubed, whatever you like. I got two 9x13s out. We'll see how well they fit. We might need to grab a 9x9 as well. Actually, this might be perfect for two. This one's gonna go in the oven right now, and we're gonna cook that one. The potatoes are still cooking in there. One down, a few more to go. I'm gonna mark on here what this is so that we don't forget. I'm actually going to the beach. I'm actually going on a girls trip this weekend, and I might ask if we need a breakfast one day, and I might bring this breakfast casserole, which would be really convenient. Breakfast casserole, and I'm gonna put today's date on it just so that we know when it went in the freezer. This is cool. The onions were warm, but because everything else in here was cold, this is definitely cold enough to go into the freezer. So I'm gonna go put this in the freezer, and I think our potatoes are done in the oven, so we're gonna get our breakfast burritos put together. I am gonna shred a little bit more cheese because I forgot how much cheese actually goes into this breakfast casserole. We're still waiting for the potatoes to be done for the breakfast burrito, so I thought what I would do is go ahead and get out all the ingredients so we can make the waffles. I have a brand new waffle maker. I've never owned a waffle maker myself. I got this one on Amazon, and it had good reviews, so I have it warming up here, so we'll see. I got it because it said it had like a slim profile, but it's nothing fancy. And let's go ahead and make the waffle mix. I Googled this recipe. It's called Fluffy Whole Wheat Waffles. It's got 5 stars or 4.9 stars. And so I thought I would give that a try. I am working on using my whole wheat flour up. And so we're gonna start with, I'm gonna just do one recipe because we're gonna have so much breakfast items that I don't think I need to double this. So we're gonna do 2 cups of whole wheat flour, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of baking powder. Let me double check to make sure that's what it is, not baking soda. Yes, baking powder, cinnamon, 6 tablespoons of butter, 2 eggs, some vanilla. I need to pour this into my other container. This is some homemade vanilla. And we're just going to do a splash of that. 1 3/4 cup of buttermilk, or it said you can use whole milk, and I'm going to use whole milk because that's what I have. Last, a little bit of salt. Well, that was certainly easy to throw together. We're going to mix this together, and I'm going to let this sit for a few minutes while the waffle maker continues to heat up, and then I'll get all of this stuff put away. And then I'll get all the ingredients put away, and then we'll make the waffles. I just had the urge to open this, but I know I shouldn't do that. Smells really good, that cinnamon. Oh, it is oozing just a little bit on this side. Not too bad though, not too bad. What would it be making waffles if you didn't have some sort of explosion? The green light came on, so I think it's, oh, perfect. Look at those. You know what, I think I'm gonna give them a minute longer for the outside edges didn't cook quite as much. Smells good. May have overfilled that one. I want to give this a try. My favorite way to eat waffles is actually with just butter and applesauce. This smells so good. I've never put cinnamon in waffles before, and I think that that's something I'm going to start doing. Mmm. That's delicious. I will definitely make this recipe again, and I will link it down below. Really, really good. I like the flavor of whole wheat, but this doesn't have like an overpowering whole wheat flavor, and I think it's the cinnamon and the vanilla. So good. It's not too sweet. Mmm. Just delicious. We still have our waffles cooking away over there, and I'm gonna get these English muffins toasted so that we can make, it looks like we're gonna make 6 English muffins, McMuffins. And you don't have to do this step where you toast the English muffins first, but I think it does add a little bit more flavor. So we're gonna go through the extra step to do it. Beautiful. I mean, you can definitely tell there's a hot spot right here. So it's not the highest end waffle maker ever, but those did turn out quite, oh yeah, definitely. But for 25 bucks or whatever I paid for it, I'm happy with it. Okay, I think we're just gonna use the rest of this. To make these English muffins a little extra special, I'm going to brush a little bit of butter. That will just help them brown in the oven and get nice and toasty. This is that grass-fed butter that has the best flavor of butter I've ever had. And so we're gonna add this. And then I have my oven set to broil, and we're gonna broil these for probably just about a minute or two until they get nice and toasty. These weren't even in the oven for 4 minutes, and they are already perfectly toasty. So I am glad I went through that extra step. So now we need to make the eggs to go on top of those. I'm not sure why it took me so long to buy a waffle maker, but I think I am going to return this one because you can see they definitely do not cook evenly. And so I'm happy that I have it, and I definitely want to get another one that has a little bit better cooking evenly abilities. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to let these cool completely. We'll put them in a freezer Ziploc bag, and the best way to warm them up is either throw them in the toaster or microwave them, and they're perfectly good. Josh and I will each have 2, so this will be 3 breakfasts or 3 dinners, depending on if I decide to make breakfast for dinner. And they taste fantastic. This is definitely a winner recipe. So let's go ahead and get the eggs cooked. Actually, I took out the potatoes for the breakfast burritos, so let's get the breakfast burritos rolled up. So in our bowl, we have our eggs, our sausage, our onions and peppers, and we're gonna add our last ingredient, which are our potatoes. I don't think I showed it, but I did season the potatoes with some garlic, salt, and pepper. We're gonna mix all of this together. I tried to keep those egg pieces a little bit bigger so that when I would mix them, they wouldn't completely fall apart. But some of them are a little big, so I'm gonna break them up just a little bit. I just wiped my counters down, and I'm gonna go ahead and roll these right on my counters to make this a little bit easier. I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 tortillas here. So hopefully I made the correct amount of filling for 10 tortillas. I do have more tortillas in my freezer, but I thought I got enough tortillas out. But I want to kind of get them all out so that I can evenly distribute the filling between the 10 tortillas. Okay, I have a little bit more. I'm gonna try to see if I can get all of them to fit in these burritos. So I like to roll up and then roll the 2 sides in and then roll them over. There's one. My favorite way to cook these breakfast burritos is actually from a thawed state. You can cook them from a frozen state, but they cook through a little bit more evenly when they're thawed. So what I like to do is, if I know I don't have any breakfast ready for Josh and I the night before, I'll just grab 2 of these breakfast burritos out of the freezer, throw them in the fridge, and then they're mostly thawed. They might not be completely thawed, but they do cook up a lot better in the microwave. And it does help if you wrap them in a paper towel first and then microwave them, because it just helps absorb any extra moisture. Oh, we forgot to add cheese. Darn it. It's sitting right here too. You know what? I don't think I'm gonna unroll all of those. We're just gonna go ahead and top the ones. Oh man, darn it. We'll top these ones with cheese, and then I have to decide if I'm gonna open all of those burritos to add cheese. Gosh, I think I'm going to. First I'll roll these ones up though. Now we have our tower of burritos. We need to, oh, I didn't want that. I wanted some saran wrap. And I'm gonna wrap each one individually in some saran wrap just to help prevent any freezer burn or anything. I do plan for us to go through these pretty quickly. So just for a little extra protection, we'll wrap them in 1 layer of saran wrap. And then I'm gonna recycle the bag that the tortillas came in, and we're gonna put them in here. That's another reason why I want to put them in a little bit of saran wrap, because I'm not putting them in a technical freezer bag. You don't even have to freeze these if you don't want to. These refrigerate really well. If you know you're gonna go through them within the next few days or week or so, you could just stick these in the fridge. But because I'm having that breakfast casserole in the oven cooking for us, I know that we won't need these breakfast burritos right this minute, because we will have breakfast already in the refrigerator for us. So that is why I'm wrapping these up. Off to the freezer these go. These don't need to flash freeze or anything because I have them individually wrapped. And this will make a lot of really nice breakfasts for Josh and I. Our breakfast casserole is done and ready to come out of the oven. I have a pan here that is warming up because we are gonna cook some fried eggs. Look at that. Yum. Oh my goodness, that smells so good. Okay, we're gonna let that cool. And then I'm gonna get some eggs out to fry up some eggs. I think our oil is ready. I don't own any non-stick. That really is the easiest to cook eggs on, but I don't like to use Teflon. So I just use what I have. I may have put a little too much oil in here. I'm not very good at cooking eggs, so we'll see how they go. I like over medium. We don't like super runny yolks, and that's usually best, or over hard when you're gonna freeze them. I'm gonna put this on here so it'll cook through more evenly. Perfect. I'm happy with how these 3 eggs turned out. Now we're gonna cook 3 more. Now that's the real challenge, if I can cook 3 with this stuff that's already stuck on here. We have our toasted English muffins, our bacon here, and our eggs. And I think they turned out okay. Not the best eggs, but good enough for what we need. And then I have some sliced cheese. This is some provolone cheese. And we get to assemble our English muffins. I'm gonna put 1 slice of cheese on each English muffin. Each one is gonna get 1 egg. And then 1 slice of bacon cut in 2 for each one. And there are breakfast for Josh and I for 3 days. We have a little extra bacon. I'm gonna put this in the fridge and we'll be able to enjoy this at any time. For the McMuffins, I'm gonna do the same thing that I did with the burritos. I'm gonna take a piece of saran wrap. These are completely room temperature now. I wanted to make sure that the egg and everything was nice and room temperature. Tibro, my dog, is out and he just started barking. Sorry about that. Before I put them in the freezer. That way there's not any sort of like weird condensation or anything. Now, these are not quite as dense as the breakfast burritos. So when I go to cook these, I do like to microwave them from thawed again, if at all possible. You can microwave them from frozen again, but they do seem to reheat better if they are thawed. So what I like to do, just like the breakfast burritos, I'll take them out of the freezer the night before, I'll put them in the fridge, and then I'll microwave them. These you don't typically need to wrap in a paper towel because there's not as much to them as a breakfast burrito. And it usually is about 2 to 3 minutes depending on your microwave, in the microwave to warm them up and have a nice melty warm sandwich. And this is sure a whole lot cheaper than going to Starbucks or McDonald's. Starbucks, I think their breakfast burritos are like $6 now. They're like $5.98 or something crazy. And I don't even know how much they cost at McDonald's, but I know I can guarantee you these are cheaper than anything you can get at a drive-thru. Plus, you get to control the ingredients that go into your breakfast burritos or McMuffins. The eggs we used are eggs from my chickens. They're organic tortillas, organic English muffins. The bacon in this and the sausage were from a local hog that I bought from a local rancher, and so it's pasture-raised meat. So the quality is a whole lot better in anything you can make homemade. And I have so many now breakfast items in my freezer that we're gonna be set for a long time, and these are gonna be great. We can use them for lunches, dinner for breakfast, breakfast for breakfast, whatever we want. We've got some really quick and easy meals ready to go whenever we want them. In a matter of about 2 hours, look at all that we did. We have 3 breakfast or dinners worth of waffles. We have 3 days worth of English muffins. I'm saying that because that includes Josh and I both eating. And so we have 10 burritos, so we have 5 days worth of breakfast burritos. This is an entire week worth of breakfast for Josh and I. And then here we have one for the freezer. Like I said, I think I'm going to bring this to my girls' weekend so that we can have a really easy, delicious breakfast and we don't have to worry about going out to eat for breakfast one of the days. I am going to put the McMuffins in a freezer Ziploc bag so that those will be protected from freezer burn or anything like that, because this is going to last Josh and I a long time, because I probably will be making breakfast for Josh, like baked oatmeal and stuff like that. So these are for when I don't have the energy or we don't have the time in order to do something like that. We've got backups for lunches or whatever it might be, because today Josh didn't have a lunch to take. We also got dinner started for tonight. I'm gonna go ahead and make dinner right now. These are the onions and peppers that I didn't end up using. I'm cooking them down a little bit more to caramelize them. I definitely chopped up way too many onions for what we needed today, and it's only $2.40, but I'm gonna go ahead and make dinner. We're making stroganoff. I made a roast the other day. I'm gonna use the leftover meat from the roast to make stroganoff, and I'm gonna be filming a what's for dinner, and so you'll be able to see that in an upcoming video. I did also work on cleaning the sink. I got the dishwasher unloaded and loaded again. This is the beef broth that we're gonna make the stroganoff with, so I skimmed the fat off that. I'm gonna hand wash these dishes because they don't need to go in the dishwasher. So overall, I would say extremely productive day. Thanks for hanging out with me as we got all this done. I'm grateful to have all this in the freezer. It was a perfect day for it. I'm gonna get dinner going. Dinner is gonna only take me a few minutes because all the components are basically done. And then it is about 75 degrees outside. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm gonna go enjoy being outside. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. My dog's running in here. If you want to see more of what I've got going on around here, I'll put some videos right here. You can go enjoy those between now and my next upload. If you're new, please consider subscribing, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye, friends.